Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Programming with a Purpose. So today I am going to show you how we can create such a view in which the background view is going to be get blurred and a bottom drawer is being opened and can be dragged by the user into states like a minimal state, and it can be then maximized up to a significant part of the screen. So here I have created the project. I am adding here a model file with the name of recipe model. It is going to contain the struct that is going to represent our data. So let's create the struct inside the file with the name of recipe model. We have an ID of type string, then name string, then tags that is going to be an array of strings. It is going to help us to basically filter recipe based on certain tags. Then carbohydrates, dietary fiber, double, all of these values are basically of type double. They may have their own units. I'm not catering those. I'm just storing the value of double inside each of these values, which basically tell you how much of this type of content is present inside a recipe. So these are all the values. I fixed the error on line number 15. So here we are going to add another file with the name of nutrient info view. So basically this is going to represent the nutrient information in a certain way. We are going to pass some of the values. It is going to basically represent a percentage or a circular graph for a certain type of nutrient like carbs, fats, and proteins. So here I am passing the default values so that we can run it easily. You can remove the values once you are done with the code. It's not important here to mention these values. I've just entered these for testing purposes. So first create a background circle, and then with the help of a Z stack insert another circle on the top of it, which will be trimmed according to the value of the percentage that is passed in the variable percentage. The foreground color is the color that is passed to this struct. So here we'll be calculating the minimum of percentage or 1. 1 is going to basically fill the circle completely. Then we are going to add a stroke with a certain line width. So this is going to be the fill inside a circular graph. Here I'm setting the rotation effect, which means that where the fill will start inside this circular bar, then a small animation. So next I'm going to embed it inside another Z stack because I want to add a text on the top of this Z stack in the center of this circle. So here I'm formatting the string and representing the value of percentage with the sign of percentage. So here the value is calculated to be 20%. I'm specifying the other properties of this text like font, making it bold, and then a foreground color. Now adding a little bit of a padding. Now next I'm going to embed it inside a V stack and folding the Z stack. I'm adding here the text with the name of the nutrient that is being passed here. So basically carbs is passed here. It is going to be written at the bottom of this circular graph. So this is how our nutrient info view looks like. You may see a little bit of a discrepancy inside the size of the circular graph and the text, but it will be handled inside the code when we are going to call it. It's not an issue for now. Next, we are going to create a bottom drawer modifier, which is going to alter our view we are going to pass to it. So let's write its definition on the top. we are going to pass a drawer content in the form of a view to this bottom drawer modifier, and then it is going to modify it. We are passing here some of the properties like is presented, which is going to be true if the top drawer is going to be presented, otherwise it is going to be set as false. Then a height, which means that the drawer height, and then a drawer content. So here I'm writing the initializer and fixing the errors inside the initializer's default, changing the definition of initializer, and next I'm going to change the value of var body sum view to cater to the content that is being passed to this bottom drawer modifier. So it is going to be a Z stack in which the content or the parent content at the background is going to be blurred with a certain value depending upon the radius on the bool value of is presented. Then an animation is applied to it. If is presented is there, then we are going to create a color dot black with a certain opacity on the top of that content to make it blur. And then we are going to add an on tab gesture, which is going to basically dismiss the top drawer if we click on the background, anywhere on the background. Next, we are creating a V stack with a little bit of a space and then the drawer content, which is going to be our nutrient info on the top of the recipe. We are giving it a frame height depending upon the height that we want it to display. Then we are adding here a gesture. If you do not know about gestures, go to the series that I'm going to attach the link here of the gesture. Once I have covered all of the gestures inside a series, and you can see and learn it with different examples there. So if the gesture dot translation of height is greater than 0, we are going to set height to 300, otherwise to 800. These values can be captured using a debugger and printing these values inside the console. So in the minimal state, it is going to have a height of 300, and when it's dragged up by the user, it is going to have a height of 800. Next, when it's going to be ended, we are going to basically make is presented to false to hide the bottom drawer. Here we are adding a transition, which means that it will pop from the bottom of the screen and an animation is added. After that, we are ignoring the safe area to basically expand it to the bottom of the screen. Now we are going to write an extension of the view, and we are going to write here a function that is going to get the values and then going to call this modifier on our content. So write this definition. So next, we are passing here the drawer content, and it is going to return some view. Here we are calling the modifier, which is going to call the bottom drawer modifier with all of the variable values that we have passed to this function bottom drawer. And it is then going to get into our bottom drawer modifier view. So here I am changing the order of the arguments so that it's easier to call this function inside our main view. So I fixed some of the errors, and here I'm going to create a nutrition sheet view. This is basically the sheet view that is going to configure the content on the top of that bottom drawer. So if height is like around 300, the view will be different. If it is greater than that, the view will be slightly different. So we are going to configure that inside this view. So here I'm fixing some of the errors. I'm passing here the values inside the preview so that we'll be able to see the preview on the right hand side, how the view is going to be built and it looks like. So here pass all of the values for the properties of recipe model. You can pass any values for testing. So here I'm passing the corner radius 20 as a rounded rectangle. So next, I am going to show you how it's going to look like in the preview. So it is basically a handle that is going to show the user that the view is draggable and it can be maximized or minimized. Next, we are going to create an H tag that is going to create 3 nutrient info view for carbs, fats, and protein percentages for the specific recipe. I'm passing here the static values. Obviously, these values are going to be calculated somewhere inside the actual code. So here I'm passing the colors as well. So this is how the view is going to be look like when the sheet height is 300. So next I'm going to fold this H stack and we are going to write a code, which means that if the view has a height greater than 300, how we are going to handle it? We are going to display the details of all the nutrients in that recipe. So here I'm going to create an H stack, which is going to show us a value and the nutrient name, and then we are going to replicate it for all the type of nutrients inside the recipe model. So next I'm going to add here a little bit of a spacing. I'm changing the name of the nutrients. So you can copy all of these names from the recipe model file. So next we are going to create the last view of this code, which is basically the recipe details view, which is going to create the view that is going to act as a parent or a background view for this bottom drawer. So we are going to pass here some of the properties like recipe details, which is basically of the type recipe model. Next, we are going to pass here some of the local variables like is sheet presented, which is initially false because we do not want to show the bottom sheet initially, and a variable that is going to display the sheet height, which is going to be 300 in the start. So let's add some default values here in the preview so that we'll be able to see the output inside the preview on the right hand side of the screen. So this is how it's going to look like. And let's start building the view. We are going to create here an image. Then we are going to create a button on the top of this image, which is going to be clickable, and that is going to display us the drawer. So its action is going to be the display of the sheet with changing the variable is sheet presented. Here we are creating the actual button view. I'm using here a system name, which you can get by accessing the SF symbols. Next, we are adding some of the padding to align it to the bottom right corner of the image. So here there is an error which is causing the preview to fail. So we are going to add the default values inside the content view as well. Now the errors are fixed and the view will be displayed. This font system size 32 is going to maximize the button to this size. And we are ignoring the safe area to extend this image. Next, we are going to create a V-stack and append this V-stack to it. Here we are mentioning the recipe name from recipe details. We are setting some of its properties like size, making it bold, and some padding. Next, we are going to mention all of the tags underneath this name and then a static recipe for this almond muesli. We are adding some of the alignment and spacing here inside the V stacks. So next we are going to create an H stack where we are going to mention the tags. So I'm iterating over the tags and create a certain view for each of the tag here on line number 39 and 40. So the tags are created, but they are not visible. We are going to check for the error. So there is an extra bracket. I've removed it. And the tags are now displayed on the screen. We are adding a little bit of a padding. Next, we are going to write here the directions. The directions to cook this recipe is not mentioned inside the recipe model, which in ideal case should be there. So here I'm just passing here a static recipe. You can basically write here any static string as a stub. So I've copied a random recipe from a website and I'm going to paste here. And I have assigned it certain properties like multi-line text alignment and a certain font size. So here I'm changing scale to fit to scale to fill for the image so that the view looks a bit better. So it's great. Now I'm adding a little bit of a bottom padding since we have removed the safe area so that the text do not go beyond the readable limit of the screen. Now we are adding here the bottom drawer, the actual thing that we want to implement here. So I'm passing here the binding variables and here we are going to call the bottom sheet view. It is going to give us an error because we do not have a bottom sheet view. That is basically the nutrition sheet view we need to call here. So change the name and the view is displayed, but the view does not have a background. So this is due to the reason that we haven't created a background in our nutrition sheet view. So we are going to add here a background with color white so that the view is not see-through and its opacity should be 1. So we are adding here some properties and some shadows to make it more presentable. A frame maximum width, which is going to cover the entire screen width-wise. So there is a small error. Let's fold the VStack and see why there is the error. So this is due to the reason that the frame is applied to the if statement, which is wrong. We need to apply it to the VStack. So we are going to copy paste and bring it outside the bracket. So this is how it's going to look like when it is of the height 300, and this is how it's going to look like when it is going to cover the screen. So it looks perfect. So now let's play the code. So there is a little bit of problem with the animation when we are basically expanding the view. So we are going to remove this linear animation on line number 28. And let's play the code again. So the circles are fine, but there is a little bit of a glitch you can feel on the screen. This is due to the reason that we did not add the width animation when we are expanding the view. So let's add it here. And now it is smoothly coming up and down. So this is what we wanted. A compressed view and an expanded view acting as a bottom drawer. So here we are able to remove it as well. So this is all for this bottom drawer implementation in SwiftUI for a parent view. I hope you have learned something from it and you have enjoyed it. I am going to add other ways of representing views inside the navigation series. So stay tuned. Do not forget to like and share this video, subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching.